Hi, my name is Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I am thrilled you're here. And I'm more thrilled with the guest that I'm interviewing today. If you haven't heard the name Mark Victor Hansen, then I don't know what rock you're hiding under. But I want to tell you a little bit in my intro to give him a little credit because he's so incredibly humble. The bio he sent me, when I researched, I had no idea of all the things that he's accomplished. So first of all, he got turned down 144 times to try to get his book published. Okay. And he has now published over 500 million books. Yes, you heard that correctly. Think about that again. 500 million books. In fact, me being the capitalist that I am, I tried to do the math on what that equated to for total revenue, and it's in the billions, guys. So really, really impressive. He co-authored that with Jack Canfield, another awesome guy. And then he's also co-wrote the book, Cracking the Millionaire Code with Robert Allen, who I happen to have on the show. He's being interviewed in 2 weeks on the show, who I met at a mastermind. Who's another awesome human being. And then has written, Cash in a Flash, The 1 Minute Millionaire. And what's really cool is Mark was born on January 8th, Elvis's birthday, which also happens to be Khleif's birthday, which is kind of cool.
That's even better.
Right. But you're so humble, buddy. I mean, you've been on the Today Show, CNN, Oprah, USA Today, New York Times, Entrepreneur Magazine, just so freaking cool. And we're going to talk about you and you won the Horatio Alger Award, which is just so awesome. I could keep going, guys, but you get the message. You want to listen to today's episode for sure. And he's just written a new book with his lovely wife called Ask: The Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. So we're going to dig into that book today for sure, because I bought it and we both have it in our hands. It's very cool. It's an awesome book with great stories. And so welcome to the show, my friend. I'm going to stop talking and let you talk.
First of all, thank you. And thank you for doing all that you're doing, because back when I went bankrupt in 1974, I learned to ask. And luckily I asked my way. I asked the wrong question first. I built the Wall Street Racquet Club, Botanical Gardens, aviaries, all that cool stuff in New York. I was 20 something and I thought I was a real hot shot. I'd been in graduate school with Buckminster Fuller, Einstein's best student, I would say. Not that I'm Bucky's best student, but I tried to be Bucky rather than Mark and went bankrupt. But the good news is, I'll talk about every part of it, but just from a real estate point of view, I started a mastermind, which is one of the things you got to ask. You got to ask yourself, what is it that I want? And then really, number two is you got to ask yourself, put it in writing at every level, and we'll talk about that if you're open to it. And then one of the things I wanted to own real estate. And the third thing is you got to have a mastermind. Two come together, the power of 11. And I don't know, I've watched a few of your videos. I'm most abundantly impressed, but nobody does it alone. It's a team sport. Together, everyone accomplishes miracles. And I had a little mastermind back in Long Island, New York. And the guys who owned the garbage dump started doing flipping houses. And they come to me one day and I said, I want to buy real estate. But remember, I went bankrupt, so I got no credit. And they said, well, you don't need credit with us. We'll buy it. You buy it. You pay for it. We bought it for $7,000. You'll sell it to you for $14,000. You put $2,000 down. We'll rent it. And I went, wow. 3 years later, we sold it for $58,000. Now, to your people, then the question that I want to ask, and I know we're starting at a high velocity, and I hope that's okay with you, Rod.
Yes, absolutely.
The amazing thing is, here's the question is, you want to know what works and what doesn't work. You got to ask yourself, what mistake did I make that I don't want you, the listener, to make? And that was, and you had your own $50 million University of Life experience. I'm up on your bio too. So just so you know, I do my homework.
Thank you.
Where we screwed up, or I screwed up, I won't blame my investment partners, is that we should have bought all East Islip, Long Island, New York. It was available. Nobody was buying. Interest rate was at 28%. The houses were derelict. This guy was great at fixing up. I'm not mechanical. I'm a thinker. I'm an intellectual property guy. I told my dad, he wanted me to take over the bakery. And I said, Dad, I'm a white glove guy. I'm not sure what one is, but I wouldn't be good in the bakery. Please. From 9 years old, I didn't like it. It doesn't fit me. What fits me is writing and talking and being on podcasts like this. And I love it, by the way, as I hope you can tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. You referenced the mastermind, and Napoleon Hill talks about in his book Think and Grow Rich. You get two like minds together, they create that third intangible mind that's greater than the sum of the parts. And I've given away thousands of copies of that book at my live events because it's such a powerful book. But I've created my own mastermind as well, prompted by that book, and now it's got 14 billion in assets in it, multifamily operators. So I'm really, like you say, I want to be around people that think what I think is hard is easy, and we all know the power of a peer group, right? And so, no, I love it. Well, let's dig right into your book, buddy, because I'm not completely finished because I couldn't get it in time, but I love it, and I'm about 3/4 of the way done. Tell us a little bit about the book, why you wrote it with your wife, and what the message, some of the messaging is, and then let's just have a fun conversation about it.
Absolutely. So what happened is Chris and I have traveled around the world, talked in 80 countries. And, those of you who don't get to meet her today, you can go online and look at any of our stuff on YouTube or anywhere. We're everywhere. But we met great people, wonderful people, educated people, good attitudes. But the difference, Rod, between somebody who's a little successful and somebody who's vastly successful is one thing only. They have the power to ask. And back to my asking about East Islip, is the size of your question determines the size of your result. So if I'd said, well, I just want to own little income property. And that's exactly the opposite of what you say, is that you say, look, buy, it's easier to buy a whole lot than just a little. And and buy multifamily, which I want to talk about my dad's experience with that too. So what we're saying in Ask is we first of all found out every time we had a problem, we asked our way out of the problem, right? And we said, well, if that works for us, does it work for others? So we did our university research. We wrote about that. Then we interviewed 26 people that came from nowhere, overcame all the obstacles, and succeeded. But all of it's because of asking, and you ask in 3 channels. You ask yourself, ask others, and ask God. Seems so simple. And the big guy said, ask and you shall receive, but he never detailed how to do it. So we said, wait, we'll detail it. And now we've had the book out for a little bit, and it keeps selling out everywhere. God bless. And our publisher, we called him on Saturday a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, we're sold out again. What are you going to do? And he said, well, to get hardbound because of supply chain problems now is 8 weeks. So are you willing to go to paperback? I said, well, what is the problem with that? He said, POD, print on demand. You can print one every 6 seconds. There's 11 places to do it. So we decided, well, I want people to have books because this is the most trend. Look, I sold a lot of books, 318 books I've written or co-written with a lot of famous people. I'm very thankful. Sold 500,000 books, but this is going to usurp all that because everyone is given by God two powers only: the ability to ask and the ability to imagine. I mean, you imagined that you could get out of the do back in 2008, if you don't mind my saying it that way. And
I had to.
Not gentle, you can tell me to be ungentle.
No, I had to visualize what was beyond that. Otherwise, I would have stayed there. It would have been my story. Yeah, no, agreed.
Yeah, you would have been a victim rather than a victor, so to speak.
Right.
So that's what we do is we're teaching people to ask in those 3 categories. And people are in COVID confinement cocoons, exception of your state and mine, and they're starting to break through. But the only way to break through is to be healthy again, because some people are depressed, despondent, suicidal. I mean, I did a book long ago that in the funeral homes that they give away, and suicides are crazy now because people need to break out. People need to socialize. People need to mastermind. People need to get together again. People need to ask, think right, talk right, act right, and get the right results by asking.
Yeah, no question. And I would tell you, I love that quote about the size of your question equals the size of what you get, because it ties right into a question that I ask my listeners. I'm sorry, my guests on the show that, have thousands and thousands of doors. I almost always ask them, what would you do if you could tell your 18-year-old self something, and it was always go bigger, faster, but you've got to ask for the bigger. Okay. And that's the point in that is, don't be afraid to ask what you need to ask to go larger than, and that's why I love that question, the size of the question, because so many people will stay small or pretty much everybody starts small, but you have that fear around asking for, the big things. And like for me, I can equate it to the podcast, like asking for luminaries like yourself to come on the show, and I've even had that hang up myself. Why would I deserve to talk to a Mark Victor Hansen or someone, and I've had some incredible people on the show, but it's just and that's why I wanted to really dig into this book, because I could see the value, and those of you listening can see the value in even something as specialized as multifamily real estate, because it is all about asking. So, I know that, you're a master storyteller, and really the best communicators in the world tell the best stories. And you've got lots of story examples in here of people that have utilized asking to create. It starts with this fable in the front, that beautiful story about a woman that was destitute, that just started adding value to others and teaching others, and then she ended up in this set in. Why don't you speak to the fable? I don't want to mess up the description of it, but it's just such an awesome story and an example. And then maybe let's touch on a couple of other stories in the book that tie into the power of the content that you've written, that tie into the messaging.
You opened up 3 or 4 questions.
Sorry. Let's stick with the fable.
Okay.
So
let's stay with the fable. The fable. What happened is that my wife and I are writing this book together, and we've never written a book together. She's got a lot of bestsellers. I have a few more, but the point is, we said we'd write it, and we are sublimely in line, and we're not only soulmates, but the higher level, that twin flames. We can finish each other's conversation and thinking, and our kids and our grandkids all love us, and thank God for all that. But she's writing this fable because of the dreams that she's been having, and like God sort of channeled it through. That's why when people read it, they feel their soul. I mean, it's not maybe. Mm-hmm. We got 121 letters one day with people saying, I'm a man and I never cry, but I read that fable of Michaela, and not only did I cry, but I woke my wife up and then my teenagers up, which is what happened with our Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul. Wow. Right? It just because I want books that are unique, transformative, and inevitable, will help people get to where they want to get, which in your case and most of the listeners is buy some multifamily dwellings, which I totally believe in, and we can talk to that in a second. Anyhow, Fable of Michaela starts out with this woman who's lost everything. And my wife started writing it, and she said, now you write. And I said, look, you're doing such a profound job, and we're going to put it in 4 parts in the book. And I said, no, we're going to have the world's longest prologue. I got 3 Guinness Book of Records, but this is going to be a Guinness Book of Record for you. Nobody's done a 42-page prologue on a fable. And I said, a fable. Remember, I said, you got to be unique. Every business has got to be unique. The way you do your real estate's got to be unique to everybody else, so you'll have more renters, more people want to stay there, more people want to work with you, more mastermind partners. So you go from, I think you said 14 or 18 billion, you can go to 100 billion, right? If that's what you want. And hopefully you got that written down. Whatever it is you want, you can tell us or not tell us. But this fable, this woman had nothing going for her, and all of a sudden she gets this Christ-like image that says, go deep. And ultimately she says, holy cow, I can see the magnificence of what the king's doing. And then it starts, and it's a fable in time. And we had a major movie company wanting to make it a movie now, which I think is going to be extraordinary, which is, we love the idea, because that's what size of your thinking is. Long story short, she starts teaching people to read, has a great effect on the second in command of the king, and then ultimately gets to transcend to the high. And if the movie comes to pass, like I hope it will, I get to be the king and my wife gets to be the queen at the end.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
But everybody's got to read this story, because I don't want to blow it for you. And
yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
It is fully transformational. What's the best thing you got out of the Fable of Michaela?
Well,
what hit you?
You know what it is, buddy, and I forgot to mention this in your bio is giving. And you give so much. I had a list and I was looking for it again here, and I've got so many pages of notes and stuff, but you give to so many different things and different, and I do as well. But life is about giving. We've got 2 hands, one to pull ourselves up and one to pull people up underneath us. And you've done this your whole life with all of your writing. And so you live it probably better than anyone I've ever met, frankly. But for me, it was that messaging. It was that messaging around giving and selfless without any expectation. I think that's what really hit me the most and resonated with me the most, and the power and really the power that comes from it. Now, you don't do it for that reason. We've been taught to achieve, to be happy, but when you're giving, you're happily achieving, and you're going to get to that success, and that happiness faster. So I think that was the biggest message for me, Mark, was that piece. Yeah. So
yeah, well, giving compounds itself, and
yeah.
you're right. We've tithed in every book, and that's why I think I sell more books than anybody ever in the world.
Right.
But I'm not done. I want to sell 1 billion books, because if you don't have goals, you're not alive, right? And I'm 73, but I'm 73 years young, because I was exercising at 5:30 this morning, and you know, the point is, if you have high quality life, you get high quantity of life, and if you're going to have high quantity of life, what do you want to do? And what you said is so accurate at both levels: selfless service, because Martin Luther King said, all of us can be great if we serve greatly. And Christ said, when he's at the Last Supper, the guys say, boss, what is it we do to be great? And he says, the greatest amongst you is servant of all. Well, the point is, you got to take good care of yourself first. And then once you start giving, you get inundated with other stuff. And I can go all the spiritual stuff if you want, because I happen to be doing a biography on the biggest black minister of all time right now,
Wow.
which is quite exciting.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, I would love to ask you about a couple of chapters in big headings in the book. Can we talk about the roadblocks? I know that's the first one, but I'd like to talk about that one, because so many people have them. You know, for me, it was limiting beliefs. You know, I wasn't good enough. I got picked on in school. You know, we all have that stuff that's happened to us. But that was for me. But can you maybe expand on those roadblocks that people experience?
What happened is, when we started writing the book, we said, what is it that prevents people from asking? And we discovered 7 roadblocks, and all of us have one or more at any given time. And some of us have all 7 hitting on all cylinders, which is really soul crushing. And I've never said that word before, to those 2 words together. But number 1 is the sense of worthiness or unworthiness. Mm-hmm. Then we've got doubt. Mm-hmm. We've got fear. Mm-hmm. We've got pattern paralysis, where you keep doing the same thing and expecting a new result. Then you've got excuses, or what some people call excusology. And then you go all the way to number 7, which is disconnection. And right now, I don't know, we got, teenagers, you see them and they live on their cell phone or the screen, and they think they're connected with somebody because they're connected on some social media, or they're connected. That's not a connection.
Right.
You and I are better connected now. And I'm convinced that somewhere down the line in our future, we're going to synchronize in time and space and become great friends, because we're of like mind. And if I had to say one good thing about the disconnection and the reconnection with Zoom meetings and Skype, and just as a quick aside on Skype, the guy who invented Skype had us on. He's worth $8.5 billion yesterday, and I was just blown away the deepness of this guy. So everybody, we're at a first time in history where people can go do phenomenal stuff. And what we're saying in this book about ask is, when you overcome your 7 roadblocks, and the only way to overcome them is look at them, read these stories, see yourself in it, and say, hey, wait a second, I'm holding up the mirror. I'm looking at me and my sense of unworthiness. And I had the same thing you did. Yeah. My parents are Danish immigrants. I spoke Danish, not English. I was in remedial reading, Rod, from 1st grade to 6th grade. Now, in kindergarten, I fell in love with my kindergarten teacher. She was Danish. And I said, Ms. Sneesby, when I get older, I'm going to marry you. And she weighed 400 pounds at least. But she said, Marky, I'm happily married. I said, he'll die. But in remedial reading, so they thought I was in the dumb class. Well, now as world's best-selling author, I got to tell you, maybe I wasn't that dumb.
Wow.
But the point is, a lot of kids are put down. And one of our 5 kids is a special ed teacher. And this all fits together in my mind. And if it doesn't, tell me to look at it again. But no. Kelly is a special ed teacher. She has 15 kids in the morning, 15 in the afternoon. And she asks to find out which kids are special, which she's found out that 4 kids in each class have genius level Asperger's, where they're sort of like Bill Gates and going like this. Mm-hmm. Guys like you and I may or may not perform in school, but we do end up performing. And it's amazing. The joke at Harvard is, the C student ends up hiring all the A students. Right.
Well, I just read that Elon Musk has Asperger's as well, and richest guy on the planet, or fighting with Bezos for that. But it's funny. Number 1 was the unworthiness, that roadblock to asking. And that's been my roadblock. So it just so resonated with me. Guys, trust me on this, get this freaking book, because it'll really, it'll open things up for you, because it is all about asking, pushing through that fear of building relationships. You guys know multifamily is a relationship business, and this helps you push through that fear by asking. And so love it. Thank you for that. And so let's talk, if you don't mind, let's become capitalists for a moment. If we can go to chapter 4, which is how to accelerate business and earnings. and just maybe, if there's anything additional that you can supplement. I know you've got a great story there, and Preston Weeks' story, and if there's any points that you can maybe draw some attention to, and if not, it's fine. But I just
no, I did. By the way, I can go through the Preston Weeks story. I obviously wrote the book and went over a lot of times, so I own every story. But I want to go back to what you said that fits here too, and that is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is told by the governor of California, you must shut down your business, lay off 90,000 people. Elon Musk did the first question, remember, ask yourself, ask others, ask God. He asked himself, how is it I could keep this business open? Which is that everybody watching has got to listen, because we're still into some nonsense politically as far as I'm concerned. Right. And other people are trying to shut us down. Because remember, when you're shut down, Jeff Bezos makes a lot of money because everything gets delivered to your house. Mm-hmm. So you got to say, whatever to incentivize gets done. So what did Elon do is he calls up 3M and says, hey, look, you guys, you're not able to make all these respirators so people can breathe. I have 3D printing. I got metal inshore. I got 90,000 employees. Just give me 50-50. I don't want to make a lot of money. I just want to make those for you and keep America going. But while he did that, what he really did, Rod, is he made 90,000 cars. He became the richest man in the world. But when he did that, he also said, well, what else can I do? He said, the battery isn't working like I want. So I want a thin battery that's as thin as your thumbnail. And you can all watch this on Netflix just like I did. And he bought a company for $100 million, which, remember, if you're with Gazillion, you can buy $100 million, no big deal. But it's making graphene batteries. And he said, well, wait a second, if I could make that, the next iteration is that we have Uber, Tesla, and the next iteration of that is we have flying Tesla, because now that we got a light battery, it doesn't weigh much, and we can put a person in it. I can type in my little address, and I fly to your house automatically, and it all is perfect with the AI that he created, because he's the only car company with 20 billion miles of AI. But it's all back to one thing only. He kept asking the next compounding bigger and bigger question, which is, to everybody out there listening, you say, well, look, if Rod and Mark are telling the truth, and he says I shouldn't buy a 1-plex if I can buy, I think the number is a 5-plex is what you say start with, right? Or a 16-plex.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Just think bigger. That's all. That's the bottom line. Don't limit yourself. Don't be afraid of those extra zeros. Frankly, they're easier to buy anyway than a residential one. So that's the point. That's the message. So
yeah, and then let's talk about the banking of it too. Is it somebody out there that's got too much money that they want to lend right now? Is that correct?
That's right. Oh, better believe it. There's so much money chasing deals right now. If the focus, and those of you listening, the focus is finding deals right now, and that's it. So, that's absolutely it. But no, I love it's all about asking better questions. In fact, I have this list of questions that if you guys are interested in it, it's personal questions I ask myself on a regular basis. It's business questions. It's questions like who loves me? Who do I love? Just things that get you juiced in the morning. And I've got it. It's a free thing. I give it away. If you want it, text the word questions to 72345 and you'll get it. But more importantly, get this freaking book, because the key to having the wherewithal to ask the questions is getting past those 7 roadblocks, and then you see what's possible and know what's possible. So anyway. I'm rambling.
Go back to that first story about worthiness. The first story we have is I own 2 companies with Bob Proctor, and if you hadn't had him on, we'd get him on for you.
No. I haven't had him on. I'd love to have him on. Yeah, I was thinking Robert Allen. Yeah, I'd love to have Bob.
No, they're both great guys. Yeah. Totally different, and friends also. But Bob Proctor is a guy who, started out being put down, no father during the Depression. He's now 87 years young. He's going to live to be 100. He's going to have the biggest birthday party ever in 100. He's asked himself, like I was at his 80th birthday party, and I got to toast him, of course, but he's going to have 1 million people at his Las Vegas birthday party when he turns 13 years from now, when he turns 100. Is that cool, or is that cool?
That's really could
here's a guy who was earning $4,000 a year, had come out of the Navy in Canada, owed $6,000, is sitting in the bar as a fire person, and seeing, hey, wait a second, these guys are drunks and they're not going anywhere. I got to go ask somebody, how are you so successful? And the guy said what you already talked about, Think and Grow Rich. Mm-hmm. And he read Think and Grow Rich, and he said, now I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm successful. I think he's read it 400, 500 times. Whatever the number is, doesn't matter. But he transformed himself, and he started by cleaning windows and 25 grand a year, and then 175 grand, and $1 million a year. Wow. And then now teaches it. Now he's building I think his company's just passed $1 billion. He's literally teaching in 197 countries around the world. So electronically, and he's locked down in Canada, but he wants everyone to get the message. When you change your thinking, you change your life. And he is the most profound and prophetic spiritual guy ever, but he overcame the sense of unworthiness. So unworthiness, I've never said this before, and I want you to tell me if you don't agree, do or don't agree, but it is a sense of unworthiness could be your asset to your ascent. Yes. If you use it to your benefaction.
Oh, yes, because you're proving something. I tell the story. I built this $8 million house on the beach to prove to the world that I was good enough, but I still built an $8 million house. So it absolutely helps your ascent, but still it's, that pain, that the perceived pain that, we have these emotional events happen in our childhood and we perceive them as being factual when the reality is, I didn't have to prove anything and I didn't have to worry about being humiliated. People don't care that much about what other people think, but it absolutely helps your ascent. No question. I agree with you completely. And I wish you didn't have to have that. Yeah.
The book I'm doing now on the illuminations of Reverend Ike, From Wishes to Riches. Reverend Ike taught me how to think prosperously when I wanted to kill myself and was bankrupt. It's interesting what you just brought up is what he said is there's only two opinions that matter. Your opinion of you and God's opinion of you. There's no other opinions that matter.
Right.
I mean, by the way, we buy into it. Well, the girl, because we got teenager around us, right? The teenage grandkids. Sure. Well, you don't understand. Sally doesn't like me. You go, she doesn't like my fingernails. You go, what? I got a pimple. I can't go to school. What? Wait a second. You are going to school.
Yeah, I had to be 40 to get that memo that people really don't care that much. And frankly, if anybody rejected me, it's their own BS. They just either don't know me and they'll know my heart and soul, or they've got their own crap going on. So that's but it took a long time for me to get that memo and work through that. And like you said, in these roadblocks, you have to consciously work through them. You can't just read this and say, okay, that sounds really good. You have to sit and think about them and consciously bring them out. And that's how you deal with them. And you recognize that they have no rational basis in fact. You look at them with your adult rational spotlight and you burn them up. But it takes a little bit of repetition. And now I speak in front of thousands of people a year, but I was afraid to raise my hand in class because of this stuff. And so again, on these roadblocks, when you buy this book and you read this, just take the time, if any of them really resonate with you, to sit and work through them, consciously. Would you agree with that, Mark?
Not only agree with it, I want to add and plus something.
Please.
Is first of all, I want you to get the book and then go over every question with either your spouse or spouse equivalent, your mastermind partner, your church, temple, synagogue partner, whatever it is, business partner or partners. And if you go through the question, what you're going to do is unfold your own baggage.
Right.
And what you had is baggage. I'm going to call it up until 40.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Dragging this bag of crap behind you. Right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And it works against you because your life's easier and lighter and faster when you do it. So when we wrote Chicken Soup, we were selling 20,000 copies a week, and New York Times wouldn't put us number one. So the lady that makes the New York Times list I read her vita like I read yours, and she's a Harvard person like Jack. Jack was third in his class at Harvard. So I said, Jack, you're the right guy to call her. You're crimson. I couldn't even get in Harvard. Let's get clear. I went to a state college. I'm a state kid. I came out of no money, and you're in a little bit different place. Jack says, oh, I can't call her. I've never said this story before, so and I think it's cute. I think you'll like the end. So he said, well, you're the salesman since you're 9 years old. You call her up. So I call her up, and she says, sir, and she was snobby as hell, arrogant as possible, very Harvard-esque, because if you talk to somebody that went to Harvard, the first sentence is, I went to Harvard. You can't even, you could because you read my vita, but nobody else talking to me knows all the 3 schools I went to. It just isn't possible, probably. So she said, you are a multi-author book with disdain and derision. And I thought, yeah. She said, sir, at Harvard, at New York Times, we don't do multi-author books. So remember, I'm good at questions. So I said, you're sure? She said, I am sure. And you could see her fold her arms. I said, lady, you do the Bible and it's got 66 authors except you add maps and it's 720. She said, boy, you're in next week.
Did she? Is that a true story? That's freaking awesome. That's an awesome story.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, questions get you over, under, around, or through every problem. And you're going to have problems. If you're going to buy some real estate, you're going to have lots of problems. You're going to, like he said, we got rejected by 144 publishers. They all actually said, hit the road, Jack. And I said, look, it's okay if you don't like Dr. Canfield, but I am a really nice guy. No, Jack's wonderful, but I can't
Jack's awesome. Yeah, no, Jack's a beautiful soul. He's a great soul. I've not like, don't know him personally, but I've gone to his events. Like that was one of the boot camps I went to, and I was just very impressed with his energy. Well,
and thank you for going to boot camps like Jack's and mine and all that. That is just, everybody needs to do that to open up their mind, to open up their consciousness, open up their awareness, their thinking, their opportunities, the possibilities, and they got to come to yours. It just, everybody, each one teach one, each one reach one, and we need to reach 4 billion people that aren't in the program yet on the planet. So there's a lot of opportunity for every one of us.
Yeah, for sure. I was just looking for a picture just to share with you more than anything else, because my listeners have seen it. Give me just 1 second. Oh gosh, where is it now?
No rush.
Darn it.
I can just wax on if you want.
Yeah, I have a picture of me, because again, I never went to college, but I saved the lanyards. There it is. Let me just share my screen and show you this 1 second. I saved the lanyards from all from not all, but this is just actually some of them. I'll just show you from the boot camps that I've gone to. And of course, I'm a little braggadocious. I'm in front of my Bentley but you know,
we're done. Would you send that to me? I want to put that up and tell your story and something else.
Oh, that's kind of you. That's kind of you. Yeah. So anyway, you know, I that's my not college education. Now, again, I'm better read than most college graduates. I've got a huge library, and I'm excited to put this in a place of honor there in this Ask book.
When we come and I visit, I would like to visit your house.
All right.
My wife and I'll sign it to you. Let me just do this lanyard story.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn and I did all the seminars around the world, and Jim would say there's two kinds of education. One is academic, which is what you said you didn't go into graduate work or undergraduate work, but the more important one is the one you're really hitting on with all those lanyards, which I've never seen that before.
Oh, thank you.
And the companies I do are all giving certification. Like if you want to write a book, I'm going to give you at the HansenInstitute.com, we will give you a certificate. Plus you want to write a book and we'll help you. We'll do any part of it.
So hold on. Before you blow past that. So guys, if you're interested in writing a book, now you teach this, correct?
Right.
Okay.
We got a company called Hansen Institute, because I think everybody on their bucket list has a book.
Right.
Rod, the first thing that goes after your name when you die is your age.
Right.
So Mark Victor Hansen will die maybe at 127 with options for renewal. I'll tell you that. But the next thing is after your age is the book you wrote, not that you have $100 million or $1 billion business, which is amazing to me because, my zenith, Bob Allen and I had a $100 million company and we're doing 387 employees. So the point is, what is it that you want to do and how big do you want to get? But everyone's got to have a book. And if you can't write a book now, we can write the book for you. We'll do it soup to nuts and it'll have your indicia and it'll be in the Mark Victor Hansen library because I'm here to change the world. And let me just go one step further. It gives you credibility, mega credibility and authority and authenticity.
Sure. In fact, I'd like to expand on that when you're done, but go please.
You got some great books. But the other thing that it does is what Plato said, and I wanted to go back to something else you said, because Plato, Socrates, the question asker, taught Plato. Plato taught Aristotle. Aristotle taught Alexander the Great, who thought he conquered the world, but Alexander the Great gave him the wrong map. He thought the map went to Egypt. He didn't understand there was something beyond Egypt and there was Europe and all that. It's sort of a mind blower when you think about it, because what I wanted to say that about 10 paragraphs ago, you said, ask the right questions and think big, but make sure your mentor's question or answer doesn't limit you. Like my mentor in speaking limited me not to buy more real estate, sort of. I can't blame him, but he didn't say, hey, why don't you go buy all the iced islip? It was sort of like I was way past 40 when I realized. I looked back and I went, hell, if I made a mistake, boo-boo, I made a mistake, and that was a big one because, and I made a couple big mistakes, and I don't mind admitting them because I'm trying to make progressively less mistakes. But about books, go ahead.
Well, what I wanted to say, guys, those of you listening, you need credibility with investors, with sellers, with brokers. And a book, there's no greater way than to have a book that you've published that speaks to this business in some capacity. So there it is. He's holding up, You Have a Book in You. So so Mark has written a book called You Have a Book in You. And I would highly encourage you to write a book. And so, that's just more value there, because
I want to be valuable to everybody. And I don't write books. I write books for me because I absolutely love writing. And, I was up early writing with some ideas already. But the point is, every one of us has some piece of information nobody else has got. And what we're teaching in this book is what we're coded with, we believe, at DNA and RNA. And I want you to go along with it or argue with it.
Okay, he's holding up Ask, by the way, those of you listening. Okay.
Yeah, Ask is bridge from your dreams to your destiny. Right. And your destiny, do you believe, let me ask Rod a question. Do you believe everybody has a destiny that's great? No matter what their chronology.
Absolutely. They have a destiny that's great. They just have to embrace it and take action and make a decision and take action towards that destiny. But every one of them has a destiny that's great. You bet.
And then what you and I believe is that one of the foundations of wealth, which gives freedom, you read to get freed is my cliche. And that's why I want everyone to write, because then they read more. But then you also got to buy some real estate, because it's the best net worth generating, and you and I can go through all that if you want, because I used to teach it myself, and I love it, and I'm addicted to it, and I will never stop, because everybody's going to need shelter, and the shelter of the world, by and large, is inadequate and sucks. Worse in most other countries than here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, I live, breathe, eat, and sleep, and absolutely love real estate, and which is why my wife puts up with me working on Sundays and everything else, because I don't really work. When you love what you do, you never work another day in your life, and it's obvious that you love what you do. You look fantastic for 73, by the way. So that's you're. I'm 61, and I didn't realize your age. Yeah, but thank you, and I stay young because my wife's quite a bit younger than I am, and so that's my motivation. But so love the fact that you have a program for helping people write a book, because it's such, it totally ties into the multifamily investing game for a whole lot of reasons, guys. Like I just said, it gives you instant credibility. It took me forever to write my darn book, though. It literally took me 3 years. And then I gave away 20,000 copies for free, because I really didn't do it for money. I just wanted to add value. And finally, literally like 3.5 years later, it's finally on Amazon right now. And now I'm still giving it away for free, but they pay for shipping and handling if they want it. So, but anyway, So back to your Ask book. If you have another topic there that you would enjoy talking about more, if not, if we could talk about how to accelerate business and earnings, just some points there. If not,
no. By the way, you can't ask me a question in the Ask that I wouldn't love to expand on, but let's do the one you just did. I love this one. Okay. So I'm going to do it a little bit different than the book, because they're going to read the book and they'll get that. But I'll do anything in the book specific. But I got to do a talk with Crystal in Silicon Valley with the 20 smartest guys in Silicon Valley. I'm not a Silicon Valley guy, so I didn't really deserve to be there. But everybody wanted to write a book, and they wanted me to talk about how to accelerate your life. But before me, I got great pictures with arguably the smartest guy in Silicon Valley. The guy started Singularity, the guy who invented nanotechnology. You saw the movie called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I'm sure, right? Where you swallow a nanobot. But the guy's name is Dr. Ray Kurzweil, his partner, and he wrote Abundance and all that. Peter Diamandis, Dr. Diamandis, and actually Peter wrote with somebody else, but they've written a couple things together and owned a couple companies. But here's what Kurzweil says that affects everyone listening. He says, if you are a linear thinker, which is what our school system teaches, you take 30 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're 30 steps down the road. If you are an exponential thinker and you ask yourself, how do I think exponentially? Now, remember, he's head of Google 10X right now, because how do you 10X everything? But what Ray Kurzweil, and he also wrote a book about health. If you live long enough, you can live forever. So I'm not trying to sell other people's books, but it's a great book. The point is, Kurzweil said, if you do exponential thinking, Rod, it's 2, 4, 8, 16. So $1 in just 30 steps becomes $1 billion. And he said, that's what Silicon Valley has and the rest of the world doesn't get.
Wow.
And it's all the size of your thinking, and whether you're asking linear questions, how do I just get by today? Right. How do I not get fired from my job today? How do I not get divorced? How do I not get COVID? If you ask the wrong question, you're going to get the wrong result. The right question is, how do I build an immune system so I'm resilient and I can't get sick? How is it that I can have fundamental wealth so it is endless, self-perpetuating cash flow, which is what you teach and I love, because there is enough for everyone. I'm going to wax on one more because you asked a big question and it needs this. You state of mind create your state of results. So your question is, you've got to ask yourself, what is my self-awareness going and growing to? And on a daily basis, is my self-awareness expanding? Because remember, I could have been a little baker in a little nowhere city called Waukegan, Illinois, and not loved what I did. Whereas if you ask yourself, what is my destination? My destination is fundamentally to positively affect humanity. And while you're not at the last question in the book, we took it from Dr. Peter Diamandis, the X-Prize guy, Singularity guy, who wrote Abundance. And Peter says, what are you going to do during this decade, this 10 years, to positively affect 1 billion people? Well, that's 1/8 of the world's population. And we don't have too many people, which is another dumbass question that people ask wrong. If we design right, like Salt Lake City was, I'm not Mormon, but Salt Lake City was designed right? They built 6-lane streets and that because they built for growth. LA was not built for growth. And that's why I had to move out of California and move to Scottsdale, right? We're still not building. And so the guy who's trying to rebuild it, back to Elon Musk, he's got the Boring Company, right? And he's carving through the ground. Well, one of the companies I own, Natural Power Concepts, which is a device company, we're going to take the water out of the ocean, desalinate it with the ocean's own energy, use the Boring Company to bring water back to California, because we shouldn't be having any fires, but they're having fires because they don't have any water to put out the fire. I mean, as I talk to you logically, you go, Mark, that just totally makes sense. Yeah, except I'm not a politician. Politicians say, well, are you going to pay me or am I going to get more votes? And the answer for me is no and no. I want to get it done right. Everyone should have food, water, clothing, housing, all this stuff. I mean, one of my goals when I was 21 with Bucky Fuller, just like Elon Musk wrote his goals, 5 big goals, and he's hit all of them now all the way to Neuralink, but, create energy, store energy, and he's going to store energy in that new graphene battery, which just blows my mind. I mean, the guy can do thinking I can't do. And so I admire anyone good thinking like you do. That's why we're omnivorous readers. We just read and read and read. And so you got the best self-education, which is more important than an academic education, I think. And I say that honestly to everybody out there, and I'm an addicted learner. If I've over answered your question, I apologize.
No. I want to circle back on something, but yeah, back to Elon, a rocket that lands itself, on a moving boat platform that's moving in the waves. I mean, come on. That was even, the fact that someone even thought of that is just astounding to me. And now Boring under LA, and, we could go on and on with the way that brilliant mind works of his. But you said something that I want to draw some attention to, which is linear versus exponential questions. Okay. And that's so freaking important, because the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of the questions you're asking. And if you want a bigger life, you've got to ask those bigger questions, those exponential questions. So I really, really love that. You also talked about self-awareness. And guys, if you're not looking in the mirror to be a better husband or wife or father or mother or sister or brother or business person or frankly human being, if you're not looking in the mirror to grow every single year and you're not growing, you're dying. And self-awareness is so critical. Like Socrates said, a life unexamined is a life not worth living. And so, really powerful stuff, Mark, really powerful stuff.
Well, it goes even to the thing that we were talking about Dr. Napoleon Hill. What he said is a quantity of service plus a quality with a positive mental attitude equals unlimited compensation. Yeah. And people say, well, Mark, you can't really sell 1 billion books. This is back to the question you just asked. They go, no one. They say, well, no one's done it. Don't you know anything? Well, no one did 500 million before I did either, according to Guinness Book of Records, which they check your underwear. They're so good. So the point is, I don't know how to do it today, but once you figure out, number 1, what you want, number 2, you put it in writing, 3, you get a mastermind, 4, you visualize to realize and materialize. I'll figure it out. And I think we're figuring it out with the Mark Victor Hansen library, where we'll help 1,000 authors launch in the next year or two. And it is wonderful now, because it embraces my heart, because I'm good at what I do, just like you're good at what you do. So when you ask excellent questions, you ask the right question to the right people in the right way, you're going to get the right result, and your life clicks. And by the way, everyone out there listening, one of the affirmations you ought to do while you're driving around the car, just click your fingers, and just say, my life is clicking, my life is clicking, my business is booming, I'm thinking positive, I'm going to figure out this cash flow thing, I'm going to get the loans at the bank, I'm going to buy multifamily houses like Rod's been teaching me, I'm going to buy into this concept, and I'm going to help a lot of people that don't have housing.
Right.
And I'm going to get a lot of, and like you're building, here's the question that I love. Jim Rohn used to ask at the seminars we did together, leadership around the world. He'd say, you buy $1 million house, we'll take your $8 million house. Who had the $8 million? Did you? No. Did the bank? Not really. Did the mortgage company? Not really. Did the builder or builders or the lath board guys or the architect no, it was a flow. Am I doing that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, 8 million is a lot to put in flow, man. I mean, every million, what I said in 1 Minute Millionaire, my book with Bob Allen, is that every million employs 10 people that fast, and every billion employs 10,000 that fast. So we got more billionaires than ever. We got 2,812 billionaires currently listed in America, and I think that number's low, because I think it's been set as the new hierarchy. And then I want to finish back to my own book. So the other day I'm on a show with Mark Devereaux, the guy who does Amazon. You need to go on that show. I can help get you on. Mark does Amazon bestseller. And Mark starts out this way, Rod, and he says, you are the Roger Bannister of books. Do you remember who Roger Bannister was?
Yeah, sure. 4 Minute Mile. Love it.
Right.
Was it? Wait.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. In 1953, he's a medical doctor. And beyond that, if you go under 4 minute miles, your heart's going to jump out of here. Right. Remember, negative people exist everywhere.
Oh, sure.
And I'll tell you what you can't do, but he ran a 4 minute mile. Well, the next week, I said, Mark, what you may or may not know, it's the next week, 119 people did it. And he said, what does that mean? I said, physiologically, anatomically, we're no different. What did he do? He broke the barrier. What I've done is I broke the barrier. There's going to be people that eclipse what I've done, 500 million. Although I'm going to keep moving.
Okay. Can I have to stop you for 1 second, because I really want to ask this question before we run out of time, because you are so freaking dynamic and driven. What's that? Where's that come from? What's the why? Tell me the why. And I think I know, I'm guessing, but I don't want to guess. I just, can you tell me where all this drive and energy and everything comes from, please, Mark?
Well, first of all, I love what I'm doing. Second of all, I'm asking these big questions, and what we're teaching in the Ask book is that once you ask a big enough question, you got to trust and expect the answer to show up, because once you ask a question, God gives you what you said earlier: illumination, solution, revelation, insight, understanding, and wisdom. And then Solomon said, what your show is doing, and I'm so thankful for what you're doing. You may or may not know, but you want to go back and read Psalm 72, because what Solomon said in Psalm 72, and everybody ought to read this, your job in life is to become an influencer of influencers. Now, people look at me and they go, well, you're a senior guy. Why don't you retire? You got more than enough money. No, hell, I had enough money at 31. I could have retired a long time ago. So that wasn't the goal. And I wrote a whole book with Art Linkletter. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Art Linkletter, the Kids Save the Congress, People Are Funny house party. And I was writing with Art when he was 98 years old, right? So amazing. The point is, there's no limit to what you can do. And I can talk about that too. The point is, we're all here to be fully functioning. We're all here to be fully alive. And I think until people read this book on Ask and really embrace the questions and go over them with their significant other person, whomever that is, they're half alive. Because look, Bob Allen and I, we climbed all the highest mountains together, Machu Picchu, Fuji, Kilimanjaro, all that. But what happened is we also got to open up all the pyramids in Guatemala. Now, if you'd asked a little nobody Danish kid in Waukegan, Illinois, whether I'd get to open up the pyramids in Guatemala, I'd go, get out of here. If you asked me if I'd write the biography on the world's biggest black minister, bigger than Billy Graham, but bigger here and bigger in Africa, when I was listening to him tell me to be prosperous rather than in poverty, he said the best thing you can do for the poor is not be one of them. And you can watch Reverend Ike on YouTube. But we're finishing his biography right now because his wife said, look, you're his best friend. You got to do this. And I said, oh man, what a great honor. I mean,
Cool.
And because I want to get out of this black and white division stuff, because I'm colorblind. And I want to hit on one more thing, and because you're so close to the Caribbean there. When my dad finally came to America and he was forced out of, my uncle Sven, 14 years older than my dad, created a black band. We took all the Jews into Denmark during Hitler's regime. And he comes up to my dad and says, to my dad, Paul, Uncle Sven says, and I did get to meet him, he did live, but he said, Hitler's got $100,000 hit on each of us. Here's $100 in passport. Your ass is out of here tomorrow. And he said, I'll never see you again. Kissed his cheeks and said, bye-bye, little brother.
Wow.
And my dad hated socialism as I do, and communism and tyranny and all that. You and I think I'm talking for you, we're flaming.
No, we're on the same wavelength, my friend. Same wavelength. Sure.
So, and the point is, everybody can be that. That's the only place to freedom. And we've got some foibles in capitalism, but we can fix them. Yeah. Right? You can't fix stupid, and tyranny is stupid.
That's my favorite line. You can't fix stupid. I mean, that's truly my favorite. My wife hates it at this point, but that's one of my favorite lines, especially in the current political climate that we're in right now. But let's not digress too far down that rabbit hole. But listen,
so my dad, the first people he meets in America that could speak Danish were black, because they came from St. Croix, which is a Danish island. He'd never seen a black person in his life, never. And he said, how do you guys speak Danish? And they said, we're from St. Croix. And he says, what's St. Croix? And he says, Denmark owns that island. And we're from there. So my dad absolutely has great pictures and great. So this thing about blacks and whites not liking.
Oh, no, please. My wife is black. My wife is black. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she is she really believes that there's a divisiveness being fabricated and trying to be created in this. But that's a minefield. Let's leave that alone publicly. But you know, we've had very strong feelings about it as well. It's really one world. It's one universe. It's one humanity. Listen, Mark, this has been such a
one mind.
Treat. Yeah, one mind. That's it. That's exactly right. This has been such a treat. I'm so grateful for you taking your extremely valuable time. Guys, get the book, Ask. Just freaking get it. Don't think about it. Just go on your phone right now and get it. You need it. Okay? Trust me on this. Anyway, Mark, thank you so much. I really am grateful that you were on, my friend.
It's been my great pleasure. It's been fun. I'm glad. I got a new best friend that I didn't know I needed to have.
I love it. I love it. Well, all right, guys. We will talk to you later. Thanks. And Mark, we'll see you. Thanks, buddy.
Rod, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. Now, I know you've been hard at work helping our Warrior students do just that using our ACT methodology, which is awareness, close, and transform. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our Warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year, we did over 1,000 units with our students. And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our Warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345, and we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out. That's mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345.